comfortable putting in the game, and guys that have had some experience, so that's a good thing.
We anticipate a pretty good competition at center.
Absolutely. Ryan Linthicum left the spring as the starter, but having getting Walker Parks back in fall camp will free up Harris and Trent to both kind of push there. I'd say Harris is trying to push for that spot, but I think competition will make them both better. And then anytime you're going into a first game like we are, I think practicing against the defense that we practice against really helps you and gives you confidence going in, knowing, hey, okay, if we can go out there in the scrimmage and hold up, we can really have real confidence, not fake confidence, but real confidence going into that first game.
Can you give us an update on Walker and just sort of his road? It's been quite an ordeal.
And that one's tough on me because I didn't get to coach him in the bowl game, and then he was out there a little bit in endo, but not anything in the team reps. But his weight is back. He's back over 300 pounds. He looks really good. He's able to do all the running, and he's been full speed in all the weightlifting. So I think just having his experience and his toughness, but even when he wasn't in there, he was back behind me coaching and talking to the younger players, and just being around along, having a guy like that and his mentality and his toughness really helps. So having him back out there for fall camp will be it will be good. But we'll actually see where we are probably 7 or 8 practices in.
We talked a lot last season about Coach Riley coming in his first season as offensive coordinator, and the whole offense having to learn a new system. Just the language and everything that goes with that. For a coach like you, though, a position coach, what's that like for you?
Yeah, it's semantics. It's learning the language because all of these schemes, at one point or another, I've run before. It's learning the terminology and the best way to get it across. Learning the personalities of your players. You can't treat every player the same. You have to learn what makes each one of those guys tick and figure out how to press that button and motivate those guys. So I think it's more about learning the personalities of the players and then learning the language and being able to articulate it.
How's that transition been, getting to know the Minnesota players?
Awesome. I think one of the best decisions was coming in that bowl game, because the best way to get to know somebody is to get thrown in a tough situation, to get thrown into the fire, have to coach them, have to be in there making adjustments. That's how you get to know people. I think having that really helped going into the spring because you already had a little bit of a base as opposed to just coming in right before the spring. So I think the bowl game was tough just because you're learning on the fly. You have really a week to get ready to go, but I do think it paid dividends in the spring, having already built the base of a relationship with the guys.
Last year they did some mixing and matching on the left side with Tristan and Colin. How long did it take, I guess, during the spring before it solidified in your mind that, okay, Tristan's my guy, tackle, and Colin's the...
Yeah, I think Colin is unique because he's such a good athlete. He is probably the best athlete of everybody on the line. He can do so many different things. Probably besides center, he can play every position. So it gives me some flexibility to play him in a lot of different spots. He started guard at the bowl game, but he's also a good enough athlete to go out there and play games on the edge at tackle. So injuries are a part of the game, and they're going to happen. So to have guys that can play multiple positions, I think is critical.
I guess in the spring, the guys were talking about your Walt Disney quote, like no chip, hey, and horses jump. I guess, where did you learn that, and kind of like how do you reinforce that?
Yeah, so Davidcliffe told me that story a long time ago, and it was just always a vivid picture to me about everybody doing their part. If you don't have any chip paint, everybody's playing hard. All the horses are jumping. Like, to me, it's a very vivid picture of what it's supposed to look like. And I want to have an offensive line when they walk out there, and everybody watches us play, that they're finishing the way they're supposed to finish, that they're playing a certain way. This game's meant to be played a certain way, and I want to see our guys do it. And because to finish a play requires zero effort. To go out there and play as hard as you can and say, man, the Clemson O-line plays hard. That requires zero effort. And that's what I want our guys to play that way. Because I think you can ignite the whole sideline you can ignite the whole stadium. You know, when the pile kind of is stopped and all the O-line comes and pushes the pile, and then everybody starts cheering. That to me is what it's all about. That's what playing offensive line is all about.
I guess how much did you yourself, even though you didn't coach last season, go back and watch all the games from last year? And what
I had to do that to try to learn the offense.
and what were some of the things you noticed from the offensive line that you feel like are points that really have to take with us?
Well, I didn't really. I was watching it to learn the offense. I was using the spring to try to mold and create and really create confidence and a little bit of a swagger and an edge that you have to play at this level. And so that was my biggest is to instill confidence in these guys. Say, look, you're going against a defense that's really, really good. And if you can do this against them, you can do this against anybody. So that was really my main mindset, was creating a standard of effort and toughness, and then creating that confidence to say, okay, hey, we can do this. Let's go do this. And so that was really my mindset coming into this.
You kind of parachuted in here in early December and were thrown into what's going on. Now, these few months, do you feel like, hey, I'm back to I like doing this part of things. Because a head coach situation is completely different, right? Have you gotten yourself back in mode of like, I like this part, and this is what
that's why I'm here, because I do like this part. I love the relationships. I love building. I love being in that O-line room with the relationships and just the building and help taking a young man where he doesn't even think he can go. That's the part I enjoy. I enjoy the locker room. Yesterday was the first day back in the office, the camaraderie with the staff. That's the part that I really miss, and that's the part that you love. That's what college football is, and just to be part of this Clemson culture. Like, everybody talks about it. They have all these key words and phrases about Clemson and the culture, but it's real, and it's fun to be a part of it.
Coach, a friend of a friend from Mississippi told me that they couldn't believe that you took this job, that you went back into the coaching and said, no way, you'll go back to position coaching.
Right.
Can you just take us back to that time when Coach Swinney, what started that itch for you, and when Coach Swinney contacted you, what went into that?
Yeah, I mean, just being out. I think you get a couple calls and you're like, no, I don't want to do this, no. But there was something when Dabo called me, there was a pause, and I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do it, that's the place I want to do it. And I'm excited. I enjoy being a part of this culture, and I just really want to help get this thing going, back, because they've been really good. I think people paint the narrative, they haven't. They've been really, really good. There's been a long, sustained period of success, but I just want to kind of come in and try to provide maybe that little 1% that can help get them, a little bit better.
Who are some of the younger guys that people might not be talking about right now that have stood out and could factor in for playing time?
Yeah, so I think people, Colin and Harris are both really young. They got thrust into some playing time because of injury. So I think those guys having that experience will help. But some of the freshmen coming in, like, people haven't talked about Dietrich Pennington and Ian Reed. Those guys, I think, will have a chance to compete for some playing time. And then Watson Young was coming off a knee injury. He's had a great summer. He looks great right now. He's running, so he'll be full speed when it comes. Mason Wade, he had a good spring. Then Elijah Thurman is like 315 pounds right now, and he looks great. He's a super athlete. Saw him dunk a basketball. I was like, yep, we need to take that guy. So just a super athlete. So I think some of those young guys, those are just a name of few.
Could you see Pennington making some progress during the spring?
I think Dietrich just getting his body weight right and getting to where he can play hard all the time. I don't think the athleticism, he's like 340-something pounds at 24% body fat. So he's really a specimen, but just trying to get his body to a point where he can play hard for a sustained period of time. And I think he could really help us if he does that.
You might have been asked this already. How's Parks doing in his recovery?
Yeah, he's doing good. That was a tough one for me just because I didn't get him in the bowl game or spring practice. But right now he looks as good as he's looked since I've been here. He's full speed running, full speed in the weight room. So like I told somebody earlier that probably 5 or 6 practices progresses in to fall camp, you'll really know a lot more.
Familiar week one doesn't mean what's it going to be like playing Georgia again? How's your relationship with Kirby and all those guys?
Relationship is good. It's just obviously it's about the players on the field against a really, really good opponent. I think the positive is I think the motivation to prepare all summer when you know you have an opponent like that, I think is good. So it helps you prepare with that edge, and you know what it's going to take. And I think playing an opponent like that, you find out a lot about your football team early and how it's going to look.
How would you describe your coaching style? Let's say somebody isn't too familiar. How would you describe your coaching style mixed with your personality?
Yeah, I'm a people person. I enjoy that part, but I would say passion, energy. That's to me. I can't ask those guys to bring it unless I bring it. So hopefully, when people see me on the field, they see energy, they see enthusiasm, they see somebody that loves coaching and loves being around the guys.
And you mentioned the Clemson culture before and how there's a lot of phrases.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What is the phrase that might have resonated with you the most that you think is the most true?
I would say real. I would say that from the outside looking in, you're like, man, is that really real? Can they really do that? And being here, I would say 100% real and authentic, and not being scared to do it the way that you've done it, and to have that sustained period of success. Like, it's unbelievable what Dabo has accomplished, and I'm excited to be a part of it and trying to get it back to where we all want it to be.
As Garrett was talking about, for the offensive line, there were some just mistakes, like big blown plays in terms of like pass protection or just not quite being in the right spot. Is that generally, do you think, an experience issue? Is it not knowing the offense? Is it what?
Yeah, I think there's different reasons that things happen, on every different play. You got coaching five guys, one of them, there's no telling what happened on that particular play. So it's hard to speak to why things happen. All we can do moving forward is trying to just make sure that we're dialed in, that we know exactly what we're supposed to be doing, and do it really, really hard and really, really well. So that will be the answer.
Do you think, though, having guys who haven't played?
Absolutely. I think experience helps you with just knowing what to do. Helps you do the little things better. You can finish better. Your technique can be better if you're not there sitting there thinking about, okay, what do I have to do? And I think experience definitely helps with that.
When you went back and evaluated Tristan last season, what'd you see?
I see. I love his length, and he's very driven. He wants to be good. He's a competitor. I wanted to see him get a little bit stronger in his lower body, where he can finish and play, because he had to play a bunch of snaps last year. And I think just working on his body, getting his body right, and he looks great right now. But I've been very impressed with his demeanor in the meetings and how he carries himself, even an individual. Like, he wants to be really, really good. He wants to be coached. And when you talk in a meeting, he's got his notebook out. He's taking notes. He looks he's just like that. I mean, yeah, he's writing notes. He's engaged, and I've been very, very impressed with him on the field, but also off the field.
How about Marcus Tate?
Marcus Tate it was awesome to have him back. So we didn't have him in the bowl game, and he came back in the spring. And, so just with his size in there at guard, and the fact that he's played tackle gives you some flexibility as well. But his size in there at guard has been really, really good for us, especially in the spring. You could really notice a difference with him in there.
As Harris, what does he still have to learn in terms of the center position? How natural?
Yeah, just getting the reps. He's very intelligent. He's capable of doing it. But the ability to put your hand on that ball, to snap it, to block a really good player, to be the quarterback of the O-line, and get everybody on the same page. Like, there's a lot to it. I mean, that center position is very, very important. He can do it, but I just think getting the reps and stacking those reps will help.
How close is our competition? Sorry if you already asked about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's close. I think we'll know probably second scrimmage going into fall camp. Second scrimmage, we're going to give everybody opportunities, but I believe that competition will end up making both of those guys better, and they'll push each other to be better. But like I said, Ryan left the spring as the starter, and Harris will push for competition, and Trent Howard will be getting some snaps as well. You can never have enough centers, and how injuries occur, you may have to move some guys around inside. So I think having that flexibility with all those guys that played before helped.
Ryan really hadn't played much, hasn't played much at all.
Right.
What did you see of him during the spring and sort of?
Well, I mean, obviously he's hungry and has kind of waited his turn, and he now knows this is his opportunity. So I think knowing guys are pushing for playing time, it helps you keep that edge. It's not something that's just handed to you; it's something that you have to earn. And again, I always go back to who you practice against matters. And it's not like you're out there doing it against an average defense. You're doing it against really, really good players. So I think that gives you confidence as well.
For you, what's been the biggest challenge getting up to speed and going this season? Because it's a new system for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me, it's always about being able to capture the hearts and minds of your players and knowing your players, because my job is to motivate them and get those guys ready to play. And I have 2 kids at home. They're both totally different, and you can't treat them the same. Like, you have to know the personalities of your players to be able to push them, to get them to go where you want to go. So that's been the biggest challenge for me, is learning each player, and not just knowing their name, but knowing what makes them tick, learning their why, learning their families, where they come from, like what's in here. And when you learn that, to me, you become a better coach.
Is having been a head coach, are there things that you learned in terms of how you can better help an assistant or a coordinator being in this position that you learned being in?
Yeah, I just think just the overall experience helps. So you were talking about experience with players. It's the same thing with coaches. When you go through certain things, you learn what to do, what not to do. You learn things about how to manage a room, how to manage people, how to help keep things off the head coach's desk, how to help the coordinator. So there's obviously the experience does help in a lot of those areas.
Matt, there's only 3 active head coaches who've won a national championship. The 2 of them are the last 2 guys you've worked for. Do you see a lot of differences or more some similarities? Maybe they probably don't get seen from the outside as much.
I would say they both do a good job at being who they are, and I think that's a hard thing to do in this climate where there's so much pressure to do things a certain way. I think both of them stick to who they are, and I think that's a credit to both of those guys.
Was there, I don't know, any sort of culture shock going from having been in Kirby's locker room to this one?
No, I think all that kind of gets kind of over, talked about. I think when you come in, everybody's trying to get the same thing accomplished. You're just doing it in your own personality. And I think anytime you're a coach, you always try to take the best of who you're around and bring it with you. And sometimes you learn the best things to do, and sometimes you learn the best things not to do. But that goes all the way back to Coach Cutcliffe or Coach Freeze or Coach Fulmer or Coach whoever you're working with. You always try to take the best things of who you're around. So.
I will flash forward to week 1, again, having been there and seen those guys and how that program runs, how much of a challenge is that, and do you use that as sort of a motivational tactic?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously a huge challenge, and they're really, really, they're a great football team, and I think for us to play them on week 1 will tell us a lot about where we are at that point. I don't think it makes or breaks your season either way, but I think it tells you a lot about where you are, and then I think it also helps you stay motivated throughout the summer and helps you, all those things. I think are really, really important. But I think it's good for college football. I think it's great for both fan bases, close together, and I think it'll be a great football game week 1 and kind of kick the thing off the right way. So.
You're right. You said something just a minute ago about that make or break the season. In the past, with 14 playoff versus 12-team playoff, obviously, it would have been a lot more emphasis. So, does the approach change at all with the 12-team playoff coming this year in the expansion?
I think no. I think whether it's 4 teams or 12 teams, like, you still got to go do your job and be a championship caliber football team. And I think it runs through your league. If you win your league, you're in. So I think that's where it starts. You got to go. You win your league, you're in. And I think that's been the kind of the mantra is you need to win your league wherever you are. SEC, ACC, doesn't matter. You win your league, you're in. I think that's a big thing.
I'm sure you've answered a lot of questions about them, but when you're talking to a few centers that are battling it out, what are the big things that you're talking to them? Like, here's what you need to do if you want to be the starting center.
I mean, they already know. I think when guys are sitting in the room, they're all watching tape. They know who's getting their job done and who's not. Like, that's what I mean. It's all on tape. It's not my decision. It's your decision on how you practice and how you play, because it's right there on tape. And that's my job as the O-line coach, is to be honest with those guys and to point it out. Say, hey, look, this is it. It's like the best guy is going to play. It's not some big secret. Or, hey, I like this guy better. It's whoever performs the best are the best guy.
Now, you mentioned him a couple of times already, but what has Davidcliffe meant to you in your career and you as a person?
I mean, he's the guy that got me into coaching, that taught me into being a coach.
So he's to blame for all of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's his fault. But he's a tremendous person. He's a tremendous mentor, and somebody I've always looked up to. And he's when you stand in front of your own team and you hear certain things coming out of your mouth, you know, you're like, okay, that's how I was molded. That's how I was shaped. But he's just a tremendous man, tremendous coach, and I learned a lot from him.
People talk about, again, going back to the chip paint thing, just the line and talk about your energy on the field. Like, where did that come from? Just like your fire.
That's just who I am, and that's what I enjoy doing. And so, it's easy to have passion when you love what you're doing, and that part, being out on the field at practice with the guys, that's where you really get better. And that's that practice field and all, like, you practice this game way more than you play. And to try to take advantage of each and every day out there with those guys and push those guys to be better, you want the games to be easier to practice. And so to be out there and to try to provide that energy and that spark, I think it's really important.
What have you seen from Colin Sadler? His versatility. What does that bring to the ball?
Man, Colin, I recruited him a little bit out of high school, and but his athleticism, I said this earlier, like, he's probably the best athlete of all the guys up there. And just his ability to play on the edge, but also have the toughness and the size to also play inside, I think it just gives you a lot of flexibility. Because, like, offensive line, football is a game and injuries are going to occur. So to have a guy that can play multiple positions really helps.
I think the guys were also talking about after the bowl game, like, you were actually crying, with your wife, like, you were very emotional after the game. Why was that such an emotional?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, anytime you're out, and you come back, I mean, that was a big decision, and it was a family decision. But I'm an emotional person. You probably figure that out by now. Like, that's my biggest strength, but maybe my biggest weakness sometimes. I'm an emotional person, and I wear my feelings on my sleeve, and that's who I am. So, but I also think that the players respond to that, and I think people like it when you're genuine and you are who you are. You don't try to hide things or be fake. You just are who you are. And that's what I've always tried to be.
What have your takeaways been on Elijah Thurman so far?
Athleticism. He's really done a good job of changing his body. He's probably gone from 295, 300, to maybe 310, 315-ish, like, kind of fluctuating between there. So he's done a good job changing his body. So I like where he's headed.
Just going back to the bowl game, like, what was that like, that being your first game back? How back and forth that game was for a long time?
I mean, I like that we won. That was just a different experience, but I think what you gain from being in a situation like that in the trenches with your guys, I think it really was a benefit going into the spring. It wasn't always pretty. It didn't look the way you want it to look all the time, but I think the benefit of being out there with the guys really paid dividends going into the spring.
With all the changes we've seen on the recruiting trail, how easy was it for you to slide back in there after being away for a couple years?
There's a lot of things going on in recruiting, but it still goes back to relationships most of the time, and just trying to create those relationships and build those relationships with the families and the kids. That's the part I enjoy about recruiting, just meeting people and talking to people and building those relationships.
Matt, if I've read correctly, your time away, it's not exactly time poorly spent. You were enjoying life for the most part.
Right.
And you hear a lot from coaches these days about it's not a pleasant time necessarily to be coaches with all that's going on.
Yeah.
What made you want to come back? Like, I mean, again, when you got coaches kind of looking for ways to get out.
Right. Well, I mean, I just, that time with my family was awesome, but that's all they've ever known is their coaches' kids. My wife and I have kind of been through this roller coaster of college football together, and we just all we came together and we felt like this was a great opportunity, and where you're doing it at matters, and coming have a place, be able to get back into it at a place like Clemson for me was really special, and everybody here has been awesome. Just not only with me, but with Ashley and Harrison and Cooper. And it's been really good.
So last question. So what was the selling point to bring you back, for you to get up off the couch and get to
truth be known, I mean, this was something that we were looking at, and it just praying hard about the right opportunity, and the right opportunity came somewhere where I felt like we were going to be able to have a chance to win a national championship and be around great people. And I've been fortunate in my career to be in some really good places, and just excited to be a part of it here.